Hi, welcome to Enter the Bunker, where we launch you into thriving. Each week, we talk about a different virtue that can be used as a building brick to build your own personal bunkers. We share personal stories, as well as tips and tricks to help you thrive instead of survive. So sit down, relax, and enter the bunker.
Hello, and welcome to Enter the Bunker. This week's building brick is self-discipline. My name's Kelly.
And I'm Jonathan.
And we're going to go over the meaning for part 1 of our podcast today.
Here we go.
The self-control to do only what we truly choose to do without being blown off course by our desires, establishing healthy and ennobling habits. That is the meaning of self-discipline. So I guess even though you want to eat a whole tub of chocolate ice cream, only have a bowl.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Well, that's one way to look at it. I think what it comes down to is really when we're talking about self-control, it's about doing what you need to do and not necessarily what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, the more disciplined you are at getting things done that need to be done, the better off you'll be, right? And that all comes down to the self-control, right? And self-control sometimes is something that I think a lot of people think is a challenge for them. They're just like, when you think like food, for example, right?
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, I just don't have the self-control to keep myself from eating the food or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And if you can, again, this comes back to what we often talk about is just having a vision, having a dream that's so big that everything else is just small and that it just becomes so much more important to you that the self-control is more about pursuing whatever that vision is versus whatever kind of desires or moods or whatever kind of things that are keeping you from getting there. So right now, as a matter of fact, for myself, I am having challenges with losing weight. Okay. I go through these like
roller coaster.
We talked about how I'm the what they call a yo-yo dieter.
Right.
Okay. Like I'll go up, I'll go down, I'll go up, I'll go down, and I'll just keep doing that. And I've done that all my life. So I know that I'll get to a point where I'm just like, okay, that's it. Like I'm 25, I'm 30 pounds too far. I gotta reverse course, and then I'll just yo-yo back to start going down, and I'll start implementing things that get me there.
Yeah.
And then once I get there, something happens, just something. Sometimes it's just certain things happen, and then suddenly I turn to stress. But whatever it is, I haven't gotten that consistency in my diet to keep me from yo-yo dieting.
Right.
And I know that I'm at a point right now where I should be starting to go back to that going back down the phase again.
Right.
But it hasn't happened in the same way it has in the past. So now it's like, have I gone too far? Like, am I now like, I've just gone too far that now I need to find a new way to be able to get back on the yo-yo?
Yeah.
even if, and so again, and so then in this case, I actually, every time I've had those yo-yos, it's usually like, okay, my pants are too tight, and it's just like, that's it, I'm done here. And it's like, or a belt's too tight or something like that, right? And I'm just like, oh, I'm down to my last notch on my belt. That's it. I'm going back. And right?
Yeah.
But this time, it's been a couple of weeks now where I'm like, I know I got to reverse course, but it hasn't kicked in.
Nothing's like triggered that.
It's just like, here I am still eating a chocolate bar. Here I am still, having a Pepsi, and I just keep doing it. And I know I shouldn't be. It's so weird. But for me, it's weird. Anyway. But for a lot of people, yeah, that's what they deal with all the time. And then they get down on themselves. They're just like, oh, this is why I'll always be this.
And then it's hard to get out of that sometimes.
And then you create your own cycle where you just keep on reinforcing that. So, it's a self-discipline. Again, it comes back to the vision. So for me, I've actually started to, instead of going through that, oh, this is it, and now I got to do this, I'm starting to think more along the lines of like, what's going on in the world right now? And thinking about, well, I better make sure that I'm going to be the healthiest I can be. Otherwise, I could be in real trouble when I need to get some kind of care.
Right.
Here in Canada.
Yeah.
Right. It's better in some other parts of the world. So yeah, I'm thinking that I'm thinking that like if I can establish more of a vision like that, then that will
give you your oomph.
Yeah. Right. And then the vision, and with a greater vision, the self-control doesn't become such an issue. It's like I just know when I get into that mindset,
You're there.
everything just disappears. Like the idea of eating that stuff just disappears. Like
Yeah.
it's not a self-control thing. It's more like, it suddenly just loses its appeal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, let's get in some quotes here. Our first quote: "Motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you growing." John C. Maxwell. That's a good one. Second quote is: "Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments." Jim Rohn, American author, entrepreneur, and motivational speaker. "Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most." Abraham Lincoln, president. And finally, "Only the disciplined are truly free. The undisciplined are slaves to moods, appetites, and passions." Steve Covey.
Stephen Covey.
Stephen Covey.
Yeah.
Ooh, some of those quotes are like good. Which one was your favorite?
So my favorite is Stephen Covey.
Yeah.
I remember that one the most. Only the disciplined are truly free.
Okay.
I think, and it's true. It's and then he goes on to say, the undisciplined are slaves to moods of appetites and passions. So it's really good how he makes that contrast of like, there's freedom and then there's being a slave. And those are the things that you're a slave to. You're a slave to these moods and these appetites and these passions, and when you're under that, you're not really free. You're
Yeah.
these are things that are taking away from you. And so being disciplined, self-discipline helps you to be able to actually gain more freedom in that sense, about doing what's needed rather than what you're wanting. Yeah.
When I first was reading the quote, I'm like, I read "Only the disciplined are truly free," and I just kind of like, why? But then as it says, the undisciplined, it's like, yeah, because I know this because like I feel like it takes a lot. But then you talk about the vision. Okay, I don't know. I'm just confused now. I'll say my favorite quote. I think mine was, okay, from Abraham Lincoln, actually. "Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most." So I guess I've been practicing self-discipline in my own personal life the last week or so, and this one I guess resonated to me because I get in my own head and I say things. Mine's more of like, I guess, yeah, I'm a slave to my mood. I guess it would be in that sense the case. But I get in my own head, and but what I've been saying to myself lately is what do I picture? Like what do I want in the end? Like,
Right.
what do I want to become all of this? And then that kind of actually makes me not want to say and have the bad thoughts or say the bad things or maybe say something that could, I don't know, like just out of the moment. It really makes me, it's like, okay, this is the end picture. Why would I go and say this? Because this could ruin the end picture. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of, yeah, I felt like that one resonates to me for that reason. Yeah. Okay, so we'll get into the opening now. It has been said that self-discipline is the ability to do what you should be doing, not what you want to be doing. Sometimes, if you are lucky, these two things align. But in the case of following a diet, eating a chocolate cake is not what you should be doing, nor is sitting on the couch when you're trying to reach your fitness goals. And that is what people think of most when they think of being self-disciplined, diet and exercise. But it goes well beyond that. I can account for that because that's not what I think of for self-discipline. But for you, it is. That's exactly where it goes.
That's my current challenge
Yeah,
right now.
yeah. Everything you do can be affected by having better self-discipline. As Aristotle said, we are what we repetitively do, and the true measure of your self-discipline is when you are able to keep doing what you should be doing when it's really hard to get the motivation to do it. So yeah, it's what? So self-discipline is when you're able to keep doing what you should be doing. Yeah, like I feel like you always know what you should be doing.
Right.
Like it's in there somewhere, so you just got to find it.
Yeah. So this goes back to the idea of habits versus behaviors.
Yes,
Right.
that too. Yeah.
So, for example, and when we're talking about diets, for example, we know that you can establish a new type of habit, right, after a certain period of time, and you have to be motivated to do that.
Yeah.
Right. Until it becomes a behavior, and at that
Right.
point, it's not necessarily motivation; it's just a behavior.
It just happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So things like making your bed in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so that could be something that you start as a habit. You're just
Yeah.
like, I should make my bed in the morning, and then you're motivated to do it. And then maybe you get up one morning, you're kind of groggy and you don't feel so good, and you're just like,
Mhm.
and then you just let it slide. And then the next day, kind of like, well, I didn't do it yesterday, and I
Whatever.
let it slide. And next
Yeah.
thing you know, the habit has just gone
It's
away,
gone.
and the motivation, because you didn't get through the motivation, you didn't have the self discipline
Right.
to actually get it done. So,
Yeah.
but if you could carry that through for, I believe it's 30 days to
21.
establish a habit,
I thought it was 21.
21 days to
Yeah,
establish a habit,
yeah.
but then it takes 90 days
Yeah.
to become a behavior.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you can be able to like power through that,
Yeah.
then you could actually have those.
And we all know how fast time goes right now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So there's a really good book out there called Atomic Habits,
Yes.
which is excellent. It's written by somebody who actually he had an injury, a physical injury, and he was told like he was never going to walk again, sort of thing. He
Mhm.
went on to compete in the Olympics,
Yep.
and he went against all the odds, and it was all because of the habits that he formed that allowed him to be able to be able to perform to that level.
Right.
So with all that, he learned this thing about how to do that, and so he ended up writing this book.
Yeah.
But Atomic Habits is really a really good primer for how to establish habits, and he takes a very scientific approach to it too. He talks about how your mind works and this kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would enjoy it, and it's certainly something that could help people with establishing better, more self-disciplined behaviors.
That's
Right.
great.
So
And you can join us for part 2 to go over a few more ways that self-discipline can benefit you. There we go. I finally came out with it. All right. We'll see you there. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Enter the Bunker. Make sure to follow us on Instagram where you can share your story and also look at behind the scenes of how we make our podcast. You can watch the video version of this podcast on YouTube by simply searching Enter the Bunker. Tune in next time as we launch into thriving.